Hey there. Welcome back to Karen Strikes Again, where suburban drama meets the unbelievable. If you've ever had a neighbor who just won't quit, this one's gonna hit home. Let me ask you something. Have you ever dealt with someone who loses? Publicly? Completely? And still acts like they're the victim? Because just when I thought things had finally quieted down, Karen came back. And this time, she didn't knock. She didn't leave a note. She broke into my garage at 2 in the morning. Now, if you're new here, quick recap. Karen tried to turn part of my private backyard into a community garden, trespassed with hired workers, got caught on camera, reported me to the HOA, and then went silent. After a legal warning, for a few weeks I thought it was over. Then one night, I got a ping from my garage motion sensor. I pulled up the feed, expecting maybe a raccoon, but no, it was her. Karen, alone, hoodie on, slipping through the side gate and walking straight into my unlocked garage. What she left behind? A tiny bag of soil and a handwritten note, and what came next? A twisted claim that I was stalking her. Trust me. This is the most bizarre chapter yet. Stay with me, because Karen's not just entitled anymore, she's getting dangerous. I barely slept after that night. Not because I was scared. I was pissed. The next morning, I pulled the footage from my security system and watched it again. Over and over, there she was, Karen, walking calmly through my side gate like she owned the place, holding that little paper note and a small bag of dirt. She didn't hesitate. She didn't even look around. She knew I had cameras. That's what made it so bold. She walked right into my garage, which, yes, I'd left unlocked by mistake, set the note on my workbench, placed the dirt next to it like some sort of offering, and walked out like she hadn't just committed trespassing. At 2:04 a.m., I called the non-emergency police line and filed a report immediately. The responding officer came by later that afternoon, watched the footage, and raised an eyebrow. She's been warned before, right? Oh yeah, I said. Multiple times. This is escalating. He nodded, took the report seriously, and said he'd be adding it to her file. I thought that would be the end of it. Or at least the beginning of the end. Maybe this would finally be enough to keep her away, but I underestimated just how twisted Karen could be. The very next day, I got an email from the HOA subject line, Notice of Community Complaint, Harassment. Concern I opened it, expecting another. One of Karen's classic, your trash bins are 2 inches too far from the curb complaints. But no. This time, she was accusing me of harassing her. The message read, a concern has been raised regarding your recent behavior, including filming neighbors without consent, verbal intimidation, and creating a hostile environment. We would like to schedule a meeting to discuss this matter. I almost dropped my phone. She broke into my garage, and now I was the one under fire? I responded immediately. Short, polite, but firm. I attached a screenshot of Karen in my garage at 2 a.m. and wrote, I'm happy to attend a meeting, however. I strongly suggest you review this footage before assuming anything about harassment. That same night, I saw Karen standing across the street, just watching, arms crossed. That smug expression like she was daring me to make the next move. My wife leaned out the front door and said, You know she's trying to flip the narrative, right? Yep, I said. She's going full villain mode. Then it's time we go full documentation mode. We made a plan. Every interaction with her would be recorded, logged, and reported. No more grey areas. No more assuming she'd back down. Because clearly she wouldn't, and deep down I could feel it. This wasn't just petty revenge anymore. Karen had convinced herself that she was the victim, and victims They don't stop until they feel vindicated or until someone makes them face the truth. The HOA meeting was set for Thursday evening at the community clubhouse. I arrived early, documents in hand. Security footage stills the police report, a timeline of events, every single incident since Karen first tried to claim my backyard, all printed, labelled and organised. I wasn't going in to argue. I was going in to finish this. Karen showed up 10 minutes late, of course. She walked in like she owned the room. Sunglasses on, Starbucks in hand, and an oversized tote bag, full of who knows what. She didn't look nervous, she looked confident, like she actually thought she had the upper hand. The HOA board, 5 people, mostly retirees who just wanted the neighborhood quiet, called the meeting to order. Today's concern, said the chairperson, relates to a harassment complaint submitted by Ms. Thompson. I raised my hand. Sorry to interrupt, but may I ask if you've reviewed the footage I sent over? The chair looked confused. We saw an image attachment. I brought the full video, I said, plugging a USB stick into the projector. The room dimmed. There, on the big screen, was Karen, sneaking through my side gate, walking into my garage at 2:04 a.m., leaving the bag and the note. A few people gasped. Karen straightened in her chair. That doesn't prove anything. You've had it out for me since day one. I wasn't even awake, I cut in. That's the problem. She turned to the board. He's been recording me for months, stalking me. I don't feel safe. In my own home? One of the board members asked. Were you invited onto his property? Karen paused. Technically no, but I was trying to leave a peace offering. I held up the envelope. This was the peace offering. It read, in shaky handwriting, Don't push me. Another gasp. Someone near the back murmured, Jesus. The board fell silent. Karen shifted uncomfortably. That note could have been faked. I mean, come on, are we really taking his word over mine? I handed over the police report. Already filed, case number included. They have the original note, bag, and footage on file. The tension in the room was suffocating. The chair finally spoke. Karen, this is serious. You've been warned before about boundaries. This goes beyond a neighbor dispute. Karen's face turned a shade of red I hadn't seen before. She stood up, clutching her tote like it held her dignity. This is a witch hunt. You're all just taking his side because he's loud and dramatic. One of the older members calmly replied, No, Karen, we're taking his side because he has evidence. That was it. She stormed out, muttering something about lawyers and lawsuits. The door slammed behind her, shaking the frame. For a moment, the room was dead quiet. Then the chair turned to me. Thank you for bringing everything in. We'll be issuing a formal statement, and Karen's access to the HOA board will be temporarily suspended pending further review. I nodded. I don't want war. I just want her to leave me alone. Another board member leaned forward. We get it now, truly, and you're not the first to bring up issues with her. Wait, what? Turns out, Karen had been a nightmare to multiple families on the block. Complaints buried, ignored, or brushed off. Until now. And now? Now there was proof. I walked out of that meeting not with a victory lap, but with relief. Finally, the lies weren't working anymore, but if you know anything about Karen, you know she doesn't take losing well. And when she loses control, she gets dangerous. This wasn't over, not even close. I thought that after the HOA meeting, Karen would finally back down. I mean, how could she not? She was caught on camera trespassing at 2 a.m. She tried to frame me for harassment and failed, publicly. She lost her status in the HOA. The whole Neighborhood saw her for who she really was, but if there's one thing I've learned, it's that Karen doesn't quit. She adapts. A few days after the hearing, I got an email from a potential client. I run a small home renovation business, and word of mouth is everything in my line of work. The email was short. "Hey, we were going to reach out for a kitchen remodel, but your online reviews are a bit concerning. Thought you should know." I blinked. My online reviews? I opened Google, then Yelp, then Facebook, and I felt my stomach drop. 5 new 1-star reviews, all within 48 hours, all saying similar things. Rude, aggressive, unprofessional, yelled at my wife for no reason. This guy came to give a quote and scared my kids. Do not recommend. Something off about him. Gave me a weird vibe. Stay away. The kicker? I had never worked with any of them. I didn't recognize the names. I didn't have any quotes scheduled that week. And 2 of the accounts didn't even have profile pictures. It didn't take a genius to figure it out. Karen had taken the fight online. She couldn't beat me with HOA rules. She couldn't twist the truth in a public hearing. So now she was trying to destroy my reputation, and the worst part, it was working. 2 clients ghosted me that week. One cancelled a project we had already started planning. I called my wife over. "You seeing this?" She scrolled through the fake reviews and clenched her jaw. "This is calculated. She's trying to tank your business." I took screenshots, reported the reviews, sent emails to the platforms, but those things take time, and in the meantime, the damage was growing. Then I noticed something else, a post in a local Facebook group for our neighborhood. "Just a warning. If you see a man with a white truck and tool belt walking around, call the HOA. He's been reported for suspicious behavior. Protect your families. No name mentioned. But the photo? A blurry shot of me in my driveway taken from across the street." That's when I realized Karen hadn't gone silent. She'd gone underground. She was weaponizing the internet, hiding behind anonymous accounts, posting vague threats and fake stories to make me look like the bad guy. I wasn't just dealing with a neighbor anymore. I was dealing with a smear campaign, and the crazy part? She was smart about it. No direct accusations, just enough insinuation to stir doubt, just enough fake profiles to muddy the waters. It wasn't illegal, but it was vicious. That night, I sat down and made a decision. I wasn't going to play defense anymore. No more waiting for the next blow. No more silent treatment. No more hoping people see the truth. I called my lawyer. I explained everything, the reviews, the photos, the fake posts. And when I finished, he said, "You've got a case, and if you're ready, we can hit back." Because sometimes when someone throws dirt on your name, you have to throw back with facts. And this time, I wasn't just going to protect my name, I was going to clear it. In court, 2 days after my call with the lawyer, I stood at the edge of my driveway, envelope in hand. Inside, a formal cease and desist letter with documentation of defamation, trespassing, and harassment, complete with screenshots, timestamps, and video stills. My attorney didn't mess around. This wasn't just a warning. It was a loaded gun on the table. I wasn't going to deliver it by mail. No! I wanted her to look me in the eyes when she read the consequences, so I crossed the street. Karen was out front, trimming her hedges like nothing had happened. Sunglasses on, lips pursed, pretending to be too busy to notice me. I stopped a few feet from her and held out the envelope. "This is for you." She barely glanced up. "If it's another one of your tantrums, I'm not interested. It's from my lawyer." That got her attention. She froze mid-trim, then slowly took the envelope. Her eyes scanned the return. Address. Her jaw tensed. "Are you serious?" "Dead serious." She looked up at me. No smirk this time. "You really think this'll scare me?" "No," I said. "I think it'll stop you, or the court will." And I walked away. I didn't
Turn around.
But I heard it. The distinct crinkle of tearing paper as she ripped the letter open. The silence that followed was deafening. Later that evening, I received a call. Unknown number, blocked ID. I let it ring out. A minute later, a voicemail popped up. I pressed play. Karen's voice. Trembling, barely composed. "You're making a mistake. This is going to make things worse for everyone. You think you're so clever. You think you've won. But you don't know who you're messing with. Just don't push it." She hung up without another word. I saved the message, forwarded it to my lawyer. "Classic," he said. "Passive-aggressive intimidation. But this helps our case."
Even more. The next day, Karen went silent. No posts, no emails, no notes, no stares from across the street. At first, it felt like peace, until my neighbor Greg came knocking. "Hey," he said, looking uneasy. "Did you see what Karen posted in the next-door group?" I blinked. "I don't follow that." He held up
His phone. "You should." I read the post. "Just a heads up to everyone in the neighborhood. Some people are trying to silence the community with lawyers and threats. If anything happens to me, you'll know why." That was it. No name, no context. But it didn't need either. It was vague, dangerous, loaded with implication. And it painted me as the villain without saying my name. "I'm so done with this woman," my wife muttered when I showed her. "It's like she thinks she's the star of some Netflix thriller." She wasn't far off, because Karen wasn't playing by the rules anymore. She was cornered, exposed, and desperate. And desperate people, they're unpredictable. I didn't know what Karen would do next. But I had a feeling it wouldn't involve garden soil. It would be war. For the next few days, it was quiet. No new posts, no shady reviews, no cryptic notes in the mailbox. It was almost unsettling, like the eye of the storm. My wife kept saying, "She's not done, she's just planning her next move." She was right. It started subtly. A neighbor I barely knew waved at me with a strange half-smile and said, "Hey, hope you're doing okay. You know, with everything going on." I blinked. "Everything?" He shrugged. "I don't listen to gossip, but Karen's been saying you've been struggling mentally, that the stress of the lawsuit thing is getting to you." That's when it clicked. Karen was going full psychological warfare, no longer online, no more public accusations. Now. It was whispered rumors, private texts, one-on-one conversations where nothing could be recorded, just enough to make people doubt me. I heard she told someone at the HOA board that I threatened her lawyer. I don't even know if she has one. Another neighbor said she saw Karen crying on her porch, telling people she was genuinely afraid I'd lash out. She said, "You're unstable," one woman admitted awkwardly.
I didn't believe her. "But, you know how people talk." I nodded, but inside I was fuming. She was trying to isolate me, not with posts or policies, but with fear. If she could convince people I was dangerous or unhinged, then it wouldn't matter what the truth was. People would avoid me, my business would die, my voice would lose weight. It wasn't about revenge anymore.
It was about erasing me. That's when I realized something important. Karen didn't just want to win, she wanted me gone, but I wasn't going anywhere. I started recording conversations, legally of course. I saved messages from neighbors who told me what Karen was saying. I got written statements, I documented everything, and quietly my lawyer began preparing for the real move. Defamation suit, because if she wanted war, fine, but I wasn't fighting alone this time. I had truth.
Time? And the entire HOA's attention? And Karen? Karen was running out of places to hide.
The official lawsuit was filed on a Wednesday. My lawyer sent me a simple message. Process server scheduled. She'll be served by Friday. I didn't know what to expect. I wasn't even sure if she'd take it seriously. But Friday morning, I was watering the front lawn when it happened. A plain white sedan pulled up across the street. Out stepped a man in a polo shirt and khakis, clipboard in hand, calm and professional. He walked right up to Karen's door and rang the bell. She answered in her usual "I run this block" attitude until he said 5 words. "Are you Karen Thompson? You've been served." I'll never forget the look on her face. It wasn't anger. It wasn't smugness. It was panic. Real, unfiltered panic. She glanced across the street and saw me standing there, hose in hand, not saying a word. For the first time, she didn't say anything either. She just slammed the door. Later that day, Greg from next door knocked. "So, it's true? You're suing her?" I nodded. He grinned. "About damn time." Word spread fast. By the weekend, Karen wasn't seen outside. No more porch tears, no more whisper campaigns. The queen of the HOA had vanished behind her blinds, and, for the first time in a long time, the street felt quiet, but not because of fear, because maybe, just maybe, people realized sometimes you can stand up to a Karen. Weeks passed. Karen didn't respond to the lawsuit. No counters, no letters, no online jabs, just silence. Neighbors noticed too. "She hasn't posted anything in the HOA group since the filing," Greg told me. "It's like she vanished. Installed away." She had. Her house stayed dark most evenings, packages piled up on her porch, the once ever-present clipboard and sunglasses, nowhere in sight. Then one morning, a moving truck appeared in her driveway. No goodbyes, no drama.
No scene. Karen was gone. I stood at the edge of my lawn, watching as the last of her boxes were loaded. For a moment, I expected her to turn, say something, anything. She didn't, and that was enough. The street finally felt like a neighborhood again. Kids played outside, people waved, conversations picked back up. No tension, no walking on eggshells, just peace. And that, after everything, was the real win.